Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well. And a little bit about what we're going to do today. Today we are not going to learn anything new. We're just going to apply what we have learned in the past couple of weeks by designing this handheld vacuum cleaner. And we're going to apply some glossy plastic materials and matte plastic. And then we're going to repeat what we have learned last week and have this transparent section, the container part of the handheld vacuum cleaner. So it's going to be basically a box shape that is truncated, that is tapered. And it's going to have basically four main sections. It's going to have this front transparent bit, the container part in the middle, and the back part, which is made out of matte plastic, and the fourth piece is going to be the handle. And once we construct this shape, we're going to drop its shadow and then start rendering the materials. So before we begin, we're going to sketch it from the side view and top view and decide to understand its proportions. Basically, it's going to be 1 by 3. And roughly each section is going to be 1 unit. Maybe the middle section can be slightly longer, and the handle is going to be starting from the middle point right there. So it's very important to stick with those proportions. And the front, from the front view, it's going to be 1 unit as well. So basically that transparent part is going to be a box that is 1 by 1 unit. Okay, let's get a new piece of paper. First of all, I will sketch my handheld vacuum cleaner from its side view. And it will start from about 1/3 of that front edge. And it will reach the peak point on this line here, which is the second line, around to 2/3. And slightly it's going to be angled downwards. And the bottom part is going to be flat over here as well. But towards the end, it's going to curve up here. And maybe this part can be slightly shorter. The handle part is going to start from the middle point. And it's going to be something like that. You can add different details. You can curve them and blend them. And it's going to have air vent at the back, down here. This part is going to be nested inside that transparent part. And this side is 1 unit, and the overall length is 3 units. So which means the handle is going to be roughly 1/2 unit. And from top view, again, it's going to be 1 unit by 1 unit. And that transparent part is going to be tapered. It will narrow down towards the front, but the middle part is going to be flat. And again, at the back, where the matte plastic part is, the air vent part is, it's going to narrow down. And the handle will start from the middle point. Again, it's also going to be tapered. And it should be roughly where my vacuum cleaner ends. And this part is going to stick out a little bit. As I said, it's going to be nested inside that transparent container. So again, from top view, it's going to be 1 by 3 units. This front part is going to be 1 by 1. This is going to be 1 by 1. As I said, if you want, you can make it slightly longer. And the back part is going to be 1 by 1. Okay, and the material wise, this is transparent. This is glossy plastic, and this is going to be matte plastic. And the handle is, since it's attached to the middle part, it's going to be glossy plastic as well. And it's going to have some buttons over here. Apart from that, we're going to have small details, such as on the side surface, we're going to have a concave surface, so that we can put our thumb and release the container part. And we will have that air vent part at the back. So maybe the button will be slightly raised, and it will be in the front of that handle. Okay. We will start with that big box, which is going to be 1 by 3 units. So let's sketch that box in perspective. I will start with the very front edge. And I will decide the angle. So it should go this direction, and which means it will go this way. So the angle between this line and this line should be about between 90 degrees and 120 degrees. It shouldn't be perfect 90 degrees, or it shouldn't be wide as 120 degrees. It should be something in between that. Always start with the front line, make it vertical, and then decide the angle, which side you're going to see more. I want to see this side of my handheld vacuum cleaner more. That is why this is closer to that horizon. And I'm drawing that line. And based on that line, I'm drawing this line. So it's going to be roughly 90 to 120 degrees. So, and let's decide the height. So that's the height of my handheld vacuum cleaner. And I will draw more lines to my vanishing point. Remember, these are just construction lines, so it's going to be very light. It's going to be less visible compared to our inner contour lines and outer contour lines. And same with this corner. It should all go to the same vanishing point. All right. So if this is 1 unit, over here, I'm not going to use the same length. It's going to be slightly shorter than this distance because of the perspective convergence. So normally, this is the length that I have. And that means it's going to be shorter than that length around here. Otherwise, if I apply the same mathematical distance over here, it won't look like a square. All right, and now let's divide this part into 3 sections. So that's 1 unit, that's 2 units, and that's the 3rd unit. Okay, so 3 equal sections. And my vacuum cleaner should end back here. So I have this corner. I will use that corner to find that corner at the back by drawing the same line here. And my second vanishing point is somewhere here. So from that point, it should go to that same vanishing point on the left. something like that. Okay. Oh, maybe down here. Okay. Now, from using these points, let's draw more vertical lines. Basically, this line is going to be parallel to my page. Okay. And I have those intersecting points. And from those intersecting points, I'm going to draw more lines to my vanishing point on the left-hand side. So make sure that your lines are converging. So if my line is going this way and this line is going that way, it won't look natural. So if you did it wrong, just draw another line till you get it right. Okay. Now we have our cubes. So basically we're going to imitate what we have done here on this perspective. All right. So the front part should be angled. So this curve will start around 1/3 of this surface, and then it should go all the way up in the second line here. So if we divide this into 3 sections, it should be roughly starting from there, and it should go all the way up here, and it should be tangent to that line here. Okay. And using that intersecting point, I will copy this point to the other side. And I have to find the middle point. And I will draw the center axis. So that is the center point of my object. So which means my center point is up here, and there, and goes all the way and there. And now let's draw the same curve right in the middle. That's our cross section. And as you can see, the front bit is slightly tapered. It narrows down. That's what I'm going to do over here. So I'm going to narrow down that surface a little bit, about that much. So if it's that much here, it's going to be slightly shorter than that distance. And then it goes all the way to that corner, which means over here. So for now, let's leave it. And the front bit is going to be angled. So I'm going to decide that angle. So which means I'm going to connect this dot with this dot. Or you can do the same parallel line right in the middle. So that's going to be my middle cross section. I'm putting another vertical line. Back here, it's going to be slightly curved. So it should go down here, but it's going to be almost flat. That much is enough. So that is going to be the center cross section of my handheld vacuum cleaner. Furthermore, my line is going to start from here and finish right there, which is this point here from the top view. And this line is going to be similar to that one. Let's see. And back here, it's going to narrow down again. So at this time, my line is at the bottom. So first I will draw that line at the bottom because I pulled that curve down here. And from there, I will draw that symmetrical line and connect those dots together. Okay, let's, this side is going, we have the curve over here. Normally this curve should be connecting this dot with that dot, similar to this curve. Normally it should look like that. But on the other hand, I'm going to have a big radius here and small radius in the front. So that's what I'm going to do. I will decide the size of my radius back here. So it's going to be that big. And in the front part, it's going to be smaller, about that much. It's going to start here and finish there. And we have another cross section here. And over here, it's going to be somewhere between those two radiuses. Not as big as that one, but not as small as that one. And I'm going to connect those dots where my radius starts and finish. Sorry, I placed my radius in the wrong spot. It should be right here. So that's where the radius starts and finish. And then it goes down with the same angle as the cross-section center. And I can draw that edge here. This middle part could be slightly curved, so it could have a little bit of surface tension. And same up here. Instead of making flat, I'm just giving a slight surface tension. Same in the front part. And the radius back here is again going to be a small one. And this line goes up, which means this part goes up here. So normally the bottom line is going that direction, but it's going to be above that ground. It should be about that much. And if I want, I can curve that bit as well. And from here, I'll connect with this dot here. So it's, as you can see from top view, it's angled. This part is going to have a part line. For that reason, it's going to appear darker. So we are almost done with the main body part. Maybe we can start adding the handle. Decide how wide your handle is going to be. And we can place the center cross section of the handle. And put more lines towards your vanishing point where the corners are. The handle is slightly longer than my vacuum cleaner, but again, that line should go to that vanishing point. Now let's decide the width. So down here it's going to be wide, and up here it should narrow down. Try to keep your lines symmetrical. And back there it's going to narrow down as well. Decide the height. And we can add the details such as rounding those corners. Again, I'm going to give a little bit of surface tension and maybe a radius here. So at the bottom, my radius is bigger than the top one. And I have to apply the same radius on the right hand side of the handle. Okay, let's see. We have those three compartments: the handle, the matte plastic, glossy plastic, and the transparent plastic part. We can add the air vent details. So my lines are going that direction. What else? The button. The button is going to be a rounded rectangle. First, I'm drawing the rectangle. then I'm adding the radius. Now I'm going to do that inner part. So this part is going to be transparent, which means I'm going to see this edge and this edge at the bottom. So again, make sure your lines are going to that right vanishing point. And we're going to add the same radius here. And afterwards, once those edges are visible, we're going to offset this curve, the outer curve. And afterwards, we're going to extrude it. And we have to show the material thickness. So it's going to be a thick plastic. And this, the inner part is going to be hollow, which means this line is going to be visible. So it should go that direction. Maybe it should finish right there and have the filter. Okay. So the distance that you're offsetting over here should be the same distance as the thickness of that clear plastic part. So if you think, if you want that clear plastic part to be thinner, just keep that distance smaller. But I kept it thick. And moreover, I will add that concave surface detail. First, let's draw a line, the center axis of that concave surface, and that line should go to that vanishing point and decide where that ellipse is going to start and finish, and place it here and try to apply line weight. The top part is going to be the darker than the bottom half. And I will place a cross section. It's going to be that deep from that corner. So that's the cross section, showing that it's concave. And since this is a part line, it's going to appear darker. And this is also a part line, I'm going to darken a bit further. And this part won't be visible since it's behind the handle. And I'm going to darken this part because it won't receive any light. And all of the lights that are receiving downwards is going to appear darker. Let's see if any other details are missing. Maybe we can show the material thickness in the front here. It's a very small surface, so it's going to be hardly visible, but still I'm going to offset that front edge here. Okay, yeah, I guess we are ready to render, but one more thing, let's calculate the shadow. And this is how we're going to calculate it. So imagine those matchstick examples that we have done last term. So these are just small matchsticks, long matchsticks, and we're going to decide the direction of the light, so, which is going that way. This is also a matchstick that is touching here. Goes that direction. The matchstick in the front is shorter. Okay. So now we're going to find the footprints of those lines down here on this axis. When doing that, please apply the same proportions. So if this is 3 units and if that is 1 unit, you should have the same proportions down here. So that is 3 units, that is smaller, 1 unit. This is 3 units, this is 3 units, and up here it is slightly shorter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect those dots. And back here, draw a line towards that vanishing point. And somewhere in the middle here, middle of that line, we're going to have the shadow of the handle. It's not going to be that dark, it's going to be fading out, but still I'm going to add a few lines there. Okay. Now we can start rendering our object. We can start rendering the plastic parts, and then we can do the matte plastic afterwards, and finally we can do the transparent part. So let's decide our colors. I'm going to use E43 for the glossy plastic part and E44 for the matte plastic part, and for the button I will use the orange color. Again, I will stick with the natural colors, and the rest is going to be just gray scale colors. So let's test these colors with those underlay tones. So I have T1 here, 1 layer of T3, 2 layers of T3, T5, and maybe 2 layers of T5. So let's see how E43 and E44 will look like with those gray colors. So that's 3 layers of E43, that's 1 layer of E43. Now with E44, that's 3 layers of E43. Okay, so if I'm going to use 1 layer of E43, T3 should work fine, but T5 will be very dark. But if I'm using 2 layers of E43, 2 layers of T3 is fine, 1 layer of T3 is fine, but T1 will have no effect on it. And for 3 layers, both 2 layers of T3, 1 layer of T3, and T5 should work fine. But 2 layers of T5 will be too dark for that one. So for E43, I recommend using T3 and T5 as an underlay color, but only 1 layer of T5. And for the E44, if you have E44, then 2 layers of T5 and 1 layer of T5 will be visible, but 1 layer of T3 won't be visible, will have no effect, and T1 will also have no effect. So those are the underlay colors that I'm going to use. Let's see. So we decided that, and let's do the same with the orange color for the bottom part. 2 layers of T5, 1 layer of T5, 2 layers of T3. One layer of orange, 2 and 3 layers of orange. So similar to E44, 1 layer of T5 is the perfect underlay color for orange, and 2 layers of T5 gets a little bit dark, but still it's in the acceptable range. And same with the T3. If it's 2 layers of T3 or 3 layers of T3, it's acceptable, but probably 1 layer of T3 will have no effect. So again, I will use T5 and T3 for the orange one as well. All right. Yeah, let's start with the glossy plastic part. So what's going to happen is I'm going to reflect the sky. So since I'm using darker lines down here, which means the brighter side of the room is on the top left-hand corner, and I will fade out my colors towards that side. And I have to reflect the handle on that glossy plastic bit. And also I have to reflect the shadow on that glossy plastic bit. And moreover, I will add some random reflections. And the handle is also going to be glossy plastic. So this side is going to be darker, the ones that are facing right hand side. And the top part is going to be slightly lighter. Maybe I will add some flat reflections, vertical reflections. So as I did here. So as you can see, I'm reflecting the shadow here. So it's darker, maybe T5. And then I'm fading out that sky, and it gets brighter towards left. Since it's curved, it will be much brighter on the left hand side. And same with the handle, the right hand side is going to be darker. And also I'm reflecting the table by doing those zigzag lines. And for the top part over here, for the handle, since it's flat, I'm creating vertical reflections. So, and in this front bit, it's nested inside that transparent part, which means it is going to be visible, but it will be kind of foggy glass, so it will lose its color a little bit. It won't be visible as much as the main body, this middle part. So it will be visible, but slightly highlighted. So I will only add colors where the shadows are on the inner part. Okay, so, and I'm going to use E43 for that one. Let's start with the reflections. Let me double check. T3. It's one layer of T3, two layers of T3. I will only use T1 to blend the shadow. And I'm going to blend that with T1. And we'll darken that bit more. This will be reflected on the surface. Even I can use T5 maybe to add more contrast. And blend it with T3. This part is also going to be dark. I'm using T3. And I'm making this part darker because it will also reflect its own shadow, which is this part on the surface. But starting from the radius, it will fade out. So maybe I will add T3 on the radius, but not as dark as that one. For the top surface, it's going to have vertical reflections. Tidy up that edge and go over with T3. And this button will reflect on that surface. I will get T3. I will imagine this radius is a cylinder. So you know how we reflected cylindrical containers. Basically, we're stretching the reflections, and that's what I'm doing over here. And even with T5, I'm adding more reflections. Now this part, first let's do the radius. And this is the reflection of the table, and it will fade out towards top. And this part is going to be darker because we will see the reflection of the shadow. And with this part, since this part is facing upwards, it's going to be more lighter than the top half. I will get T3 and darken the top part. So maybe a little bit T5 to darken further, to make it high contrast. But this part is going to get lighter. Maybe over here I can use T1. Also with T5 I will go over those edges. They are going to have a little bit of radius. Same back here. And no need to put any T color there. And we're done with the handle. Maybe right at the back of the handle we can tidy up with T3. Okay, so let's apply E43. I'm adding the second layer to create that fade out effect. Adding more layers where that shadow bit is. And now rendering the handle. Leaving some white highlights. Now the radius part. And adding white highlights. Now this side, it's going to appear darker than the top part. So I'm adding a couple of layers of E43 on the top half of that concave surface and only one layer at the bottom. Alright, so yeah, we are done with that glossy plastic bit. And maybe we can do the reflections of that inner bit. First of all, let's try to understand the light. So the light is coming from top left, which means this part is going to be untouched, whereas over here it's going to appear darker, and it will also cast its shadow on that tiny little surface. And also the inner part over here is going to appear darker. First, let's go over those edges. This part is going to appear darker, but on the other hand, because of the glass, it's going to have some white highlights. But top part is going to be mostly untouched. Maybe we can add one line where the radius starts, another one where it's finished, and add some more here. And a few lines down here. So it's going to cast its shadow. That's why I'm using that angle. And this part is going to be slightly darker. But again, leave some white random highlights. Okay. Now we can render the matte plastic bit. For the matte plastic, we were going to use T5 and T3. So this part is going to be one layer of T5. But since these air vents are facing upwards, that's going to be maybe T3, one layer of T3, or even we can leave it untouched. So remember, on the soft plastic, matte plastic parts, the transitions are going to be very soft. On top of that, I will apply T3 to blend my T5. And we're going to create this soft transition now using T5 and T3. Let's blend it further with T3. And I will drop the shadow of that handle. But the top part is going to be T3, not T5. Once it's dry, I will tidy up its edges with T5. Okay, let's get E44. So since it's a matte plastic, it shouldn't have any white reflections, highlights. And two second layer and third layer to create that gradient transition. And side surface over here is going to be 3 layers. So the goal is to create soft transition basically. The top part is going to be 1 layer, whereas the bottom part is going to be 3 layers. And you're going to create that gradient look where the radius is. So let's wait till it's dry, then I'm going to darken its edges. Okay, now it's time for me. Okay, wait. We will have to add the second layer for the shadow bit. Okay, now the switch. The darker sides are going to be with T5. And these are like radiuses. Top part is going to have similar vertical reflections. So I will add the pencil, black pencil and white pencil later on. So I have to wait till it's dry, till it's wet. And while I'm waiting for that, I will do the glass bit. So for the glass, I will use T3, T1, and T5. First, we will show the material thickness of the glass. So even I can use T5. And I will add reflections. I will start with T1. The right hand side needs to be darker than the left hand side. With T3, I'll darken it a bit more. And with T1, I will blend it. Some reflections where the radius starts and towards the middle of that radius, the bottom half of that radius. And more reflections with T3, especially this part, it's concave, so it's going to have those T3 colors, darker colors. Oh. And some more T3 on the side surface. And blend, I'm blending it with T1. Okay, we have the transparent bit, and let's drop the shadow. I'll use T7 for the glass part. So only the edges of that glass part will be visible. It will only cast its shadow. And let's not forget the handle. Towards the object, my shadow will appear darker. I'm getting T9 and darken it a bit more. Or even if you want, you can get black and add more darkness here. Okay, we have the shadow. What else? Now let's do the matte plastic part. First, let's drop the shadow of this handle with the black pencil. And also, you can add a small radius. Basically, I'm using this black pencil to soften the shadow. Now with the white pencil, I will highlight the parts of that air vent, those grills where they're facing upwards. While doing that, I can put a paper so it will create a cleaner line. Moreover, they will also cast their shadow on top of each other. With white pencil, we can add some highlight where the radius is. We have a little bit of white there, so T7, I'm going to fix this. Okay. Okay, now let's get our white ink pen. And let's highlight the edges where it receives light. Such as this front bit of button. Or this edge of the glossy plastic part. The bottom part of that concave surface, since it's facing upwards, it's going to receive some highlights. And this edge as well. Of course, glass, the polycarbonate part is also a reflective object, which means it's going to have some glossiness highlights. Place more highlights where on the left hand side of the vacuum cleaner, and some lines can extend on the glossy plastic part. And some more on the radius. And I guess we are done. So